Hi everyone, this is David from Strikingly, and thank you for the invitation. I'm going to share a little bit of our experience with Y Combinator and why we apply. So I'm going to answer a few of the questions posted by the organizer, and I hope you can get something away. The first question is how and why did you decide to apply for Y Combinator? So we actually didn't get into Y Combinator the first time. When we applied for Y Combinator, it was back in 2011 and 2012 actually. We're trying out because we got recommended by some of the alumni at Y Combinator, telling us that how great the program is and how we can learn so much and got plugged into the community in Silicon Valley. And as a new, kind of startup person and running a new venture, that was very exciting to hear. So we try our best to apply for Y Combinator the first time, and we actually didn't get in. But then later on, we basically just went on to do our startup without Y Combinator. And the second time we apply, we already have some traction to Strikingly, and that went pretty smoothly. So our fundamental motivation for applying for Y Combinator was the fact that people recommend us, the people who we trust recommended us to apply for the first time, and then after we went there for the interview, we met with the people, met with the partners there, and the people who were also applying for Y Combinator. It was just a group of very very impressive people, and that's the community we want to be in because that's being with the best people is how you actually can learn the fastest. So that was the fundamental motivation behind our application. The second question is what are the biggest benefits you received from participating in the Y Combinator accelerator? And obvious and not so obvious. Well, I mean, right now, I guess a lot of people apply for the name of being part of Y Combinator. For us, I mean, was not necessarily the kind of make or break when we apply. It was very life changing for sure, but we knew from the very beginning that we didn't do the startup for Y Combinator. And I'm gonna answer this a little bit more, but when you actually apply for Y Combinator, it's very important that you don't really do the startup for Y Combinator. If that's the case, you miss the point. And they can actually tell whether you're really passionate about the startup or just about getting into Y Combinator. For us, the biggest benefit was there's many things that we got from it. You definitely get the top tier mentorship. The people the partners at Y Combinator, they're all entrepreneurs themselves. They were entrepreneurs at some point, and then they can actually empathize with most of the problems that we faced, and they can actually give you feedback that that's from their experience rather than just some general feedback that they give to everyone. They can actually tell you what to do and what not to do, and sometimes even more importantly, what not to do. Not to waste your time, not to try something not to put your energy into something that you shouldn't focus on. And that was very important. All of those mentorship. Besides that, the exposure, the fact that you can actually present your startup in front of the top tier angel investors and venture capitalists in Silicon Valley is definitely valuable. But I would say all of those are things that those are great benefits. But the biggest thing that we take away was actually the group of people that we met there. Quite a number of them became our lifelong friends. And um, you know, doing a startup is very lonely, right? But being in Y Combinator, you meet with people who have been through what you have been through. You can share your experience with them. You can learn with them. You can grow with them, and that's a very special feeling. It makes startup not so lonely anymore. And at the same time, you have people they can go to when you are confused or you're not sure about things. You can talk to people when you face the problems. They probably have been through the same thing. This is the case for the people who were in our program, our batch, but was also the case with even the alumni from Y Combinator. So people who have been through the program, who have actually done the startup, whether they are still doing it, they have sold it, or they failed. You can always empathize with them. You feel like you're part of a community. Y Combinator, it's really you should see it as an education opportunity, just like you get into a college, you walk away with a bunch of knowledge, but more importantly is the people you meet there, and the friends that you make. So I would say those are the best things that we got from Y Combinator. And what is the best advice you would give to a startup preparing for the YC interview? Well, this is a tough question because I guess it depends on your particular startup. But here's what I would say. First of all, let me reiterate the fact that don't apply for Y Combinator. Don't do the startup because you're applying for Y Combinator. They can tell, and it's pretty easy to tell who is serious about their startup and who is not. Um, when we applied for the first time, we were in that category of we apply for Y Combinator because that's the only that's kind of the prerequisite for us to do a startup. But then after we got rejected, the reality check made us kind of like we had to make that decision of whether to continue without Y Combinator or basically just quit. And our decision was very clear at that point, which is we want to do the startup because we want to solve a problem. How to build a website, and nobody is solving this problem the way that we imagine it to be solved. How we think that it should be easier, more beautiful, and stuff. And that's our fundamental motivation. So for us, we basically, the fact that we got rejected by Y Combinator gave us the chance to revisit our fundamental motivation to pursue this startup. And we went in with more conviction. And that was quite important because the second time when we walk into the interview room, it was actually the same three people who interviewed us. But and they were the first question they were saying was like, "Oh, it's you guys again. Are you guys applying with the same startup?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they were like, "So what's different?" And we told them we have traction. Back that time when we applied Y Combinator, when we applied for Y Combinator the second time, we already had enough paid user that we broke even. And we have continuously new users coming up using the platform. So it kind of proves to them, first of all, this can work. Second, we're really serious about this. Even if they reject us, it doesn't stop us from pursuing it. And that's something that you can't really fake, I guess. You really have to believe in it. You have to feel passionate about the problem you're solving way more than whatever program you can get in. And after you get out of Y Combinator, it's a life-changing event, but it's only part of the experience. What you're gonna continue to do is still to solve that problem. So you have to be very, very passionate about it. And I think that's the single best advice that we got from other people and we experienced ourselves. And I will give to other people who apply for Y Combinator as well. Obviously, there are many other things. I mean, there are many other advice I can give to you. Don't focus on the application too much. They don't want to hear too much of the business plan, the business talk. They want to hear more of the results you have gotten for your startup, the traction. How many users you have? Is the product already live? How many lines of code have you written? How many sales have you made? How much revenue have you made? Those are much more direct indication that you are serious about this. You can talk about how it's going to make so much more money, but if you have nothing to begin with, there's just simply no proof that you can actually make it happen. So, and also back to the point that it just simply doesn't mean that you're really serious about this. So I would say, do not spend that much time on the application itself. Spend time on your startup and reflect what you have done on the application. And the best case is actually when you finish the application, when you actually, if you're lucky and they really like your application, if you get into the interview, you can tell them like, oh, the application has already been outdated. Our data has been so much better now. You have so much more traction. That's much more, that just sounds like so much better than you tell them, oh, this is our plan, this is what we're thinking about doing, but what have you done? Not that much. So yeah, definitely focus on traction, focus on the things that make your startup successful, regardless of Y Combinator. Um, and keep whatever you write in the application simple. Don't use too many of fancy terms. Just basically write down whatever it's the simplest way to express. Don't do too much of business talks. They're actually more hackers than sales or business people. So it's better for you to go straight like right in, and they read like tons of application every single day. So if you don't get to the point, you actually just miss the point. So I believe they actually have a word limit. Stick with the word limit and really trim down all of your answers to get to the point as soon as you can. And those are just general stuff, and videos, whatever. Still do the same thing. Just get to the point. Talk about what you're doing and who you are, why you're passionate, why you're the best to work on it. Prove whatever you said by whatever you have done instead of whatever you're planning to do. And how did your team prepare for the interview? As I said, we did actually prepare for the interview. We actually divide and conquer. But we didn't really start a preparation process until like about 2 days before the interview actually kicks in. We sent in the application, and after that, we basically just did not really think about it that much. All we focused on was basically building up the product, the user base. And by that time, we actually had some users who were sending in requests, feature requests, and feedbacks, and we have to process them. And those are way more urgent than actually thinking about the process of preparing for the interview. 2 days before the interview, we decide to divide and conquer. We have this sheet. I believe there's tons of resources online that you can find what kind of questions they were asked. It's actually just standard questions. It's nothing different from any other meetings that you have with other investors. It's the same. They ask for who you are, what's the team, why do you guys come together, what's your history, why is this product something that's worth looking at, where are you right now, how much progress have you made. So though all of those are standard, you just have to divide and conquer. One tip that we got, and it was just very natural for us, is that somebody should actually own up the interview, answering the question kind of process during the interview. It shouldn't be like everyone just jumping trying to show off. It should be a team effort, which you divide and conquer. Somebody should actually own up the majority of the responsibility for preparing for the interview. And if a question is specific to, say, particular area like technology, design, then somebody from your team, the experts, should actually answer those questions instead of you. Or if you're that expert, you should own up that piece as well. But it should be one person who's leading up the conversation more than other people, and just basically think about all of the potential questions they can ask. Oh, one thing that's very important: keep your answers short, just like the application. Do not say more than for any questions. You should get to the answer within first 10 to 15 seconds for sure. You shouldn't be like circling around and trying to prepare them, set the stage before you give the real answer. If they ask you a question, just get directly to the answer, and then prepare some other things to go along with it. But don't kind of dance around the topic. Just get right to it. If you don't know, say you don't know. Or if you haven't thought about it, say that you will think about it in the future. You have not think about it. Being honest, get to the point is much more important than trying to sound smart. You can't. They interview so many people, so you won't be able to actually impress them by how you present. It's much more of just get to the point. And it's only 10 minutes, so you can't really say much. So getting to the point will allow you to present more. So that's another thing. Can you tell us a bit about how Strikingly grew as a company during the program? There are a lot of things. I mean, besides Strikingly, the product, we actually grew a lot. I think we grew much more than product did. Obviously, product did pretty well during the program. We grew like 40% month over month. Before the program, during the program, until demo day. Growth is the most important thing that you're going to be focusing on. But the way to actually focus on growth at early stage is actually focus on the fundamentals. So YC would tell you to focus on two and a half things. One, just write the code, do the product, make the product better. Two, talk to users. And three, or the half thing, is exercise. So that's all you should be thinking about doing as well. You shouldn't be thinking about doing too much of like PR, BD, all of those things at this early stage, unless it's something that you can do very quickly, naturally, doesn't waste your time. You shouldn't be thinking about all of this like super scalable, big like whatever stuff. What you should be thinking about is actually getting to the 40% month over month growth. Every single month. And at early stage, it actually doesn't take that much. Like it's not like rocket science. You can actually brute force it. You can do sales manually. You can talk to users and get your existing users to refer more, get them to talk to you more. Just give them like great service and great product, and they will naturally talk about a new product a little bit more. YC will actually help you get on TechCrunch once, but it's a one-time thing. That actually didn't really help us as much as actually focusing on the product and focus on talking to users. But that was, that helped us a little bit, but it was very one time. So don't count on those things as well. Really focus on the fundamentals. A lot of things that you will learn as well. As I said, some of the things what not to focus on of your time, and what is important about your product, and how you can actually make the product better. All of those things you will learn naturally during the process. You should talk to other people who are in the program as well to get their thoughts on your product. Most of them are actually serial entrepreneurs, experienced people. So you can get a lot more than only talking to partners as well. So talk to people, get their thoughts, and then apply all of those to the product. But really do those two and a half things: make the product better, talk to users, and exercise. That's basically what we learned, and it worked for us, and I hope it can also work for you guys. I think that's all the answers, all the questions that the organizer prepared for us. I'm sorry that I can't actually be there live, because I'm actually gonna be on vacation and my internet, connectivity is gonna be sporadic. So sorry about this, guys, and thank you very much for inviting me here to share about our experience. And good luck. It's a fun process. After you do the whole application, one way or the other, you're gonna learn a lot more about just yourself, and that's gonna be great for your startup, regardless of whether you get in or not. So I highly recommend you to try it out. You never know what's gonna happen. It took us twice to get in. Might not happen the first time, but again, focus on the startup. Y Combinator is a great to have, but it's not the must-have for you to have a successful startup. So good luck, and let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you.